we're ready. No, that's okay. This is fine. Just play it.
Yeah, I'll slideshow.
Slideshow from here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sige. I will just stand here so that you guys can see the slides. No? So I'm an entrepreneur, guys. And I really love the environment. I love the beach. I love the mountain. Can I get a feel here? Who's a beach person here? Raise your hand. Okay. And then who's a mountain person? Raise your hand. The other half. Yes. Is anyone here not beach and not mountain? More a farm or cave? Sige. So the talk's entitled Builds That Matter, no? And we have factored in the extreme weather as well into this whole thing, no? So the general storyline here is, and this is the story of the next 20 years, maybe 30 years of the world, is from extractive to regenerative. Extract meaning I take, I don't give back. Regenerative meaning I take and then I return, no? And it's summed up very well in this particular strip, no? There's an indigenous elder talking to a big company about the dam that is in Sierra Madre. And he says, we want progress, but progress for us means taking care of the water and the soil. Companies historically do not care about water and soil. They care about profit, and then a few hundred years later, they cared about people. But today, the Sustainable Development Goals have asked us to look at environment. And for an indigenous culture, that's normal, right? So basically, we're going back to what it was before all these cities came about, right? And that should influence the way you guys design, right? So just to set the stage, these are the 4 pillars or the 4 value systems that we look at. Community and society, our environment, your personal well-being, and then a green economy. Again, green economy because right now the economy is very extractive, destroy. We want an economy that incentivizes people to take care or sustain, right? And so our story starts with this backdrop where the climate's changing dramatically and we're paying the price for it. Well, farmers are mostly. You know? Sugarcane industry lost 30% of their sales because the rains came late last year. The big companies had to import sugar from abroad, so because they had crop failure due to less water. Coral reefs, corals get heat stressed, and when they get heat stressed, they don't produce fish, they die. No? Some fish also, like tilapia, after 34 degrees Celsius, they will no longer breed. They can't give birth, it's just too stressful, right? And so we're losing a lot of our reef, right? And then Casiguran Aurora, 60 degrees heat index in August 2023. So April is not the hottest time of year, not necessarily, nor May, right? As historical data would show. No? And last year, in October, November, we had this combination of storms, right? So my dad is a graduate of UP, and so I asked him, Dad, naintindihan mo ba yung connection ng bagyo sa carbon? I was like, Dad, valedictorian ka naman ng grade school, high school ka, diba? Dapat alam mo yan. His answer was no, he doesn't. So I made this graphic for him, right? So Dad, the earth gets warmth from the sun, sunlight. Our earth reflects the heat back up. That's how we keep cool but still maintain life. However, when you have carbon dioxide and carbon equivalents, CH4 is methane, utot ng cow, spoiling food, F-gases from our aircon and heating, they act as mirrors in the sky and they reflect back the heat that's supposed to come out. So all the orange coming out, nope, part of it comes back in. And that causes the greenhouse effect that they call. And so that heat that bounces back means more evaporation, means the weather changes, so the waves get stronger, the winds get stronger. And when more water evaporates from the ocean, eventually it must come down in the form of the 4 storms. So it'll happen again. I'm sure it'll happen again. Maybe not 4, it might be 3. Maybe it'll be 5. Or maybe it'll be 2, 2, 2. We don't know, right? But for sure, with the increased heating, it'll happen, right? And this is our norm today. We are at the point where we call 1.5 degrees past pre-industrial level. 1.5 is the average. So on a good day, the average temperature will be 1.5 degrees hotter than years ago. On a bad day, that 1.5 might be plus 10, might be plus 8. And that's where it becomes difficult, right? And so with that increased temperature means heat waves may last from 1.1 months. It might go higher. Fresh water may go down, right? Might go down by 17%. And rainfall intensity gets stronger, right? And so one of the frameworks that I was able to study, this is from MIT in Boston. They have a tool that allows you to simulate what happens to the world's energy and flooding and crops if you change the amount of carbon that goes out into the atmosphere. So you can see here, construction is well represented. Buildings and industry, electrification and energy efficiency are two big ways to do it. No? And that's really expressed in, is this aircon one, the right size for the room? Baka it's too much horsepower. And two, is it an efficient energy type? And then three, are we using solar? Are we using coal? Are we using gas to power the aircon? Those are just some questions, no, that this reflects. And questions that you will also answer eventually when you start designing for your clients, because you can influence that particular decision, right? So anyway, today, a lot of kids are scared. I have a niece, she's 7 years old. When it rains, she's scared. When I was 7, when it was raining hard, I was happy because alam ko walang pasok. Right? Who can relate to that? Kung walang pasok, umulan. Okay, you know the feeling. But if you're the victim of a flood, hindi na. No? And last year for me, eye-opener, it was the first time that my home and my office were victim to a flood. Yung harapan ng opisina namin naging evacuation center for the first time in my life. Saverville Avenue. First time. And like, I was terrified, no? It's like, crap. Pag bumaha pa yun, aakit na sila to our floor, no? And so, when you map out where all the carbon waste comes in, this is what Stanford University shares. It's how we move ourselves, transport, how we power things, overwhelmingly big, but construction plays a role here, right? Because if you don't design properly, you might spend more energy than is needed. Your food, right? Protecting nature, so that's your coral reefs, your mangroves, your forests. Cleaning up industry, this is construction per se, how we build, specifically just two materials, cement and steel. Because for every 1 kilo of cement or steel you use, you produce 0.9 kilos of carbon. It's almost a 1:1 correlation. So the less you can use, the better. That's why lightweight stuff is in, because it's part of it now. And then removing stubborn carbon just refers to the carbon that everyone who's died in the past has put in the atmosphere. But we have to remove that if we want to save ourselves from the worst of climate change. And the worst will be 60, right? Which is toxic to your body. You stay under 60 degrees for 30 minutes, you'll get sick, for sure. No? And so there are different numbers if you go around online. Some will say construction is 37%. Either way, we know it's big. It is as low as 17 and as high as 37, right? So just giving you the range, right? Oops. And so the stories assembled after this ideally help you decide either how to design or what materials to use. They will fall within these two categories, right? And of course, as you get older, your influence is very important, right? Most people will lean on you and ask you for advice, right? The average Filipino homeowner does not know these things. That's why that's the value that this industry of this profession provides. No? And at the core, if you don't understand, you will not take care of it, right? And that's why I'm appreciative to Divine for giving us the opportunity to share. No? Para you understand also, right? So we'll start first with classrooms, right? A lot of classrooms don't have the benefit of being good places to speak in. Not every classroom has a microphone. Have you ever tried studying in a public school classroom, then you sat at the back? Who here's from public school system? No? What does it sound like at the back? Pag walang microphone yung teacher. Right, right. No? So, mahina. So, nakita mo si teacher, pero hindi mo siya naintindihan. Did you get your education? No, right? So, this is one of the challenges, right? The classrooms are more crowded than this, they're hotter than this, and the speech clarity is lower than this as well, right? So, the heat in particular is the new pandemic. Last year it was a big thing. This year, well, it's still going on, but somehow the Philippines has already accepted it as normal because it's not making headlines. Not like last year, but as early as March, nag-cancel na sila ng class. And would you believe, I got to talk to a public school teacher in Ifugao kasi I went hiking to the Banawe Rice Terraces. Sabi ko, ma'am, kamusta init dito? Sabi niya, sir, nag-cancel kami ng class kasi pumalo ng 38. Sabi ko, grabe, 38, tuloy pa kami dito sa baba. But for them, 38 is big. For us, it's probably 44, something like that, diba? For perspective, no? And most of the heat in your room comes from how you design your roof and ceiling together, no? Most Filipino families will only afford yero, and that's it. Sobrang init nun. No? I had the experience of doing a homestay, 7 a.m. malamig. By the time I got to 11 a.m. ang init na, dumugo na yung ilong ko sa init. No? Kasi low ceiling pa siya, parang 7 feet lang ata yung ceiling, no? So parang niluluto ka sa loob. Right? And so, this one, thermal transmittance, I prepared some samples for you of what people usually put on the ceiling. Is this wood?
Gypsum.
Or gypsum. Okay, yan. So gypsum. So fiber cement, or FICEM, no? So 3% reduction in heat. Gypsum board 9mm, 7%. 12mm, 0.5mm, 8%. If you put insulation behind the gypsum, goes down to increases to 61%. Acoustic ceilings, mineral fiber, 18%, and then you put insulation behind it, increases to 71%. That's assuming you've got a concrete slab with 300 mm plenum, right? Very simple data. I'll give you these slides, by the way. No? If you have a 0.6 mm metal sheet at slope, no, with this, no, then these are the numbers, right? The whole point of showing you this chart is that the material you choose and the combinations of material you choose will define how hard that air conditioner has to work or how often these windows will be open. Right? Sino dito yung aircon gabi-gabi sa bahay? Dahil sobrang init na. Taas kamay. And don't be ashamed kasi pati sa bahay namin, no? Yeah. Our house was not properly designed for cross ventilation. Or maybe it was, but people like closing doors and so the ventilation doesn't flow, right? Also, our windows are small, like only from here to here instead of sana bigger, no? So, this is a simple summary of what it might look like, no? Pag noon time, yero, luto ka dyan, no? Fiber cement, baka bumaba. Gypsum, mas bababa. Mineral fiber, mas bababa, no? So these are the gradients with which you can look at that, no? And so when you're designing inside, part of that design is how cool or hot will that room be. Siyempre kung sauna, okay na yan. No? But if it's not, you got to think about it, no? Because design is much more than what you see. It is also what you hear and what you feel, right? And again, that's your role because the customer will never see that. Huh? And so here, cooling energy. I tried to calculate it just so that people have an example. So if an office is spending 50,000 pesos a month on cooling energy, a big office, and then and then if you install the right ceiling, you get 15% off on your cooling energy because instead of putting it at 16 or 18, you could put it at 21, 22. Then you could easily get back your savings within 2 years, maybe 1 year if it's an extra hot year, no? So just showing that, right? Because sometimes the math makes sense. Kung 1 year lang, ay putya, gawin mo na yung tamang build. Because many people like to shortcut, no? And I'm speaking with experience because in the construction industry, I started with ceilings, and ceilings are the last thing installed. And so they're the last, they have the smallest budget. But there are expensive mistakes. Parang, ay, shit, yung ceiling pangit, so ang init. Uh-oh, redo, super mahal. Or, ay, yung ceiling hindi tama, tumatalbog yung sound. Okay, redo, or the room's not functional. No? Right? And our education system needs these kinds of interventions. No? Oops, I don't know why this one is not playing. Right? So, on the acoustic side naman, some classrooms, kung sobrang pangit yung acoustics, yung tumatalbog yung sound, call it reverberation sound or layman echo, at the back, your comprehension might only be 50%. Right? Can you hear me at the back clearly? You can? Okay. Ako, when I was in high school, we had classrooms just like this. No aircon though. Lower ceiling. When I did not want to listen to the teacher, I'd stay at the back. Kasi di ko naman siya maiintindihan dun eh. No? But comprehension does go down. And if you're an introvert, it goes down even more because you're more sensitive to noise. Right? And the inverse is true. You also gain more from the silence. Right? And so, when you look at what people complain about in buildings, and this is a green building survey already, what did they complain about? They complained about acoustic quality. They said they got the comfort, the design right, looks nice, feels nice, pero it doesn't sound right. Masyado siyang maingay, so I can't do my work. And when you work, you're always focusing, right? So yan, 72% distracted by poor acoustics. No? And here are samples of what people do to create noise. No? This is an American survey, so you'll notice there's no sound of the Jeep, sound of the tricycle, which us, we can hear now. Right? Imagine if there was a Jeep while you're taking an exam here. Very difficult. You'd get distracted. No? Well, some would, not all. Right? And the bottom point is that if you're a business, most of your money goes to people. And so you must protect the productivity or efficiency of your people. If not, then sayang pera mo, binayad mo pa distracted sila. Right? So, acoustics in particular also can reduce the reverberation time. So this is a feature of how sound bounces around in a room. In this room, because medyo marami tayo, a lot of the sound is hitting you, and your bodies are soft, and so your bodies are absorbing the sound. But if there were just two of us in the room, it would echo much more, right? And when you're looking at rooms in general, at acoustic quality, ceilings are the most efficient because nothing is on them. They're never touched or barely, so they don't break as quickly. Anything you put on the wall or floor will get stepped on or hit, right? And concurrently, the ceilings are also the ones that cool the area the best, right? So two things to think about when you're looking at the ceiling, right? And design-wise, there are many options naman that you can use, no? You can play with drops, right? So it's not something, hindi ka nakapako sa monolithic design, no? In that sense. And I'll just share with you this principle, no? The 1-ply versus 2-ply tissue paper. Because not all ceilings are created equal. You could have a ceiling that are the same dimensions, but one will have 2-ply, quote-unquote, ability to reduce heat or absorb sound, and some will have 1-ply ability to do that. And so you must take a look at it. What is the ability to block heat? What is the thermal conductivity, right? Or what is the ability to absorb and reduce sound? That's the noise reduction coefficient, right? Those are things that you can look at, right? So yan. Sometimes it has to be thicker, but same dimensions. So it depends, right? And here, there's a study here just to show. A room is 1,000 square feet. That's the total room. And then they put different materials in the room. Concrete lang, bare slab, gypsum. And then they put 100%, the whole ceiling got installed with mineral fiber, right? Na, call this 1-ply, 50% effectivity. Ito, 700 square feet but 70% effectivity. Then ito, 580 square feet pero 100% sound absorption. The reverberation time is very close, right? So it goes to show you can achieve the same result with less square footage, no? So these are just how they look, no? And then of course, this connecting back to carbon, reusing materials is very important because our industry is heavily reliant on mining, except for wood, but it's also deforestation in that sense, no? Unless it's a sustainable material. So looking for suppliers that have a cradle-to-cradle opportunity, meaning they can recycle their material or they upcycle from another industry, is something that you'd also want to look into, because the carbon accounting of your project, which the LEED or the WELL or the green certifications do, will take a look at that, right? So, what is this? I don't, wala na.
But we're connected, so it
We're connected naman. Sige lang. Meron ba to? Baka wala.
Baka yung volume pala ng sound.
We'll see.
Things that generate greenhouse gases. We have a lot of sectors.
Let me put that again.
Let's talk about climate change. Now, people think, hey, aren't we getting the solar panels and windmills to be a lot less expensive? And isn't that helping reduce greenhouse gases? And the answer is absolutely. But there's a lot more to do than just taking electricity to zero emissions. There's a variety of things that generate greenhouse gases. We have a lot of sectors of the economy, like manufacturing, that are emitting greenhouse gases that aren't talked about as much. Everything we make, even the cute little squishy like this, that's emitting 21% of the greenhouse gases. The number of buildings in the world is going to double by 2060. It's like we're going to build a new New York City every month for the next 40 years. It's a gigantic amount of materials. Steel, cement, wood, all emitting greenhouse gases. We're going to have to figure out how to make all these things in a different way. And so we're going to need a lot of change, a lot of innovation to bring the emissions from all those areas down to zero.
So notice what he said, it has to go down to zero. Because if it doesn't go down to zero, the climate gets hotter, right? And you saw earlier what the effects of that are now. So, just on this one what we've launched since I last presented is it's the Clear and Cool Classrooms project. So what we're doing we're talking to different contractors. Contractors always have extra. You've always got an allowance. So we want that allowance. We want to bring it to the public school so that we can either make the room cooler or make the sound clearer, or both if we can manage it. No? And then we have a foundation partner that can issue parang tax deductibility so that there's an incentive naman to whoever's donating, right? So that's the idea behind it. And oh, by the way, no roof leaks if possible, right? Because some classrooms do have leaks, right? And we have to prevent that now. So, from classrooms, I want to talk about one of these two things, no? And siguro the first thing I'll talk about is the ocean, right? So this is our surf hostel in La Union. It's called the Circle Hostel. My cousin runs it, and it's by the beach, no? And it's by the beach that I fell in love with the water, right? Having the chance to surf. And one of the things that came up, this is the guy who taught me how to surf. He posted this, and I got very, very disturbed kasi puno ng trash, no? Who here has surfed before? Raise your hand. Yeah. When you surf, is your mouth open or closed? Pag nahuhulog, nagbubukas. Tama. At pag nahulog, tapos nagbubukas, tapos ito yung tubig, anong mangyayari? Yeah. And when you surf, you will 100% fall. That's the point. That's why you don't want to surf in this. No? And so, we did research, and we started to find stuff like this. No? So Philippine rivers, we have 5 of the top 10 of rivers that are polluting, no? And every river leads to the ocean. And when plastic gets to the ocean, the fish can't tell if they're eating plastic, jellyfish, or something else. No? So this one, does anyone like yellowfin tuna? Sashimi? This is the stomach of tuna. Yeah, no. So, in connection to our food security, when there's a piece of plastic that ends up on a piece of coral, the coral is 89% more likely to get sick because the plastic attracts all the bacteria. And corals will produce 1,000 kilos of seafood per hectare per year. So what am I saying with all these numbers? The dirtier it is, the less seafood you get. It's that simple. Again, the dirtier it is, the less seafood you're going to get. So you'll start transitioning different ecosystems underwater to something lifeless, right? And to do a mathematical exercise, we tried to calculate how much seafood Manila Bay could produce if it was clean, because now it's not, right? So this is what it looks like. Based on the data from the Smithsonian Museum, whatever number we got, we divided it by 2 so that these are conservative numbers, right? But easily, you have 3 million, 4 million, almost 4 million kilos of seafood per year from these bodies of water. Question is, would you eat fresh caught fish from any of these 3? No? Who here is eaten in One Tusawa, the oyster bar in Makati? Anyone? Poblacion. You have? Mura yung oyster, di ba? You know where the oysters come from? Should I tell you? They're grown right here. Kasi when I do my beach cleanup, here, kitang-kita ko lahat ng buoy. But the oysters are filter feeders. They literally feed on trash, so they clean it up. So it's good naman, right? But, diba, it makes you think, diba? So this is Bohol's food production capacity based on its coral reef and its territory. And this is Cebu, 7 million kilos per year. Right? But of course, they're not producing that way because it's too hot and it's dirty. All this plastic and all this waste coming in, right? And this is Siargao. Can you tell me, what are these 2 brands?
Nature's Spring.
And what's this? Oh, Coke, tama, right? Because people decide to just throw it, right? We don't know if it was a surfer or just someone on the beach who left it there. Either way, it hits all of us, no? And many times, this one is a behavioral issue. This is Coffee Bean in Makati. And then I waited for 6 hours. Nakaupo lang na, I was working. And then I watched all of them dine in. They all stayed for at least 2 hours. And all of them, take out, take out, take out, take out. Why do you need takeout when you're dining in? No? And so this is an example of a behavior that has to change as well, no? And so what my friends and I did is we started a movement on trying to get people to segregate. No? So this is our feature on the news. When I talk to people in communities, they think that a plastic wrapper for biscuits is the same as a banana peel. So call us environmentalists or medyo left-leaning. We're very angry at dirty water because it's bad for business. Nobody surfs in a dirty beach. Nobody swims in a dirty beach. So what we did, the trash, we'd collect it and we started making structures out of it. We found out na, okay, bawal ang load bearing. So only for dividers and walls now. These are the brands. But the wall still stands today. It's almost 10 years, the wall is still there. No? And that's what's nice about it. And then we just get great artists to paint now. And there are many ways to reuse it as well. No? Now, this is all very important because it goes back to our initial story of carbon, which is it heats the planet. Every kilo of plastic we use is 3 kilos of carbon in its lifetime. Because plastic is oil, in essence. No? So, if you want a cooler planet with less storm, less flood, use less plastic. Simple. Reuse more items. Reusable is okay, right? Use a metal can or, And the plastic issue is exacerbated or enhanced because plastic doesn't come alone in trash. It's accompanied by paper. We know where to recycle that. Textiles, this is an issue. Fast fashion is we don't have a solution for this yet. Metal, infinitely recyclable. Glass can be recycled also. Others, mga medical, that has to be incinerated. But organic waste, food waste, that's what makes everything smell bad. Diba? Pag mabaho yung basura, are you still enticed to segregate? Of course not. Right? And so, what we've been doing for the last year is we've been running cleanups, but it has two major lessons. So it has a how to recycle, but it also has a how to reduce waste aspect to it. So there's like an educational pop-up inside. And then we give you all the suppliers to do this and this. So you go home, you know who to talk to for different behaviors, different kinds of waste, right? And connecting it to you guys when you design inside, no? One of the spaces that is always left behind in a building is usually the segregation area or where they throw trash. It's usually an afterthought. Ay, singit mo na lang dyan. If it's a cramped, small space that's hot, do you think people are going to want to throw trash? It'll be very unpleasant. It's already an unpleasant job, and then we design it to be an unpleasant space. People are just going to throw it, and then we'll never get the job done, right? You know why the BIR today is trying to renovate its buildings? Because it's taking your money. Sana naman presko at masarap yung hintay. But it's the right strategy, diba? Because you feel nice. Banks as well. They want you to hang out. That's why it's very nice, bright, aircon. If it was hot, you wouldn't go to the bank. Diba? So here are some examples, no? And they do have construction downlines, no? Plastic lumber can be used for playgrounds. This is a sewing class, circular fashion, no? And then the biomass you can turn into biochar or seed balls, soil, and then the sachets are used for pillows sometimes, no? Instead of cotton or mixed, right? There are also better materials that you can use. So this one is a eco brick. There are also materials that incorporate more recycled content, and it's stronger, no? So this one can withstand up to 800 psi, pounds per square inch. No? That's a regular hollow block. This one is the one with plastic in it, but it's machine pressed, and then it has a special binder, mas matibay. No? Yan. Yun yung boyfriend pala ni Nadine, yung nagtatapon ng ano. If you're curious, he used it for his resort. Nadine Lustre. Yeah. So these products, some of them are available, are used in UP Diliman actually. There's a place there that I saw, parang using those pavers, no? But it's also used in Maxes, in Shell, right? And then there are other new materials coming out. This one, it's manufactured here. It's waste from Pasig River. They sanitize it and then they turn it into board, so you can use it for posters, tarps, printing material, right? Ito naman yung plastic lumber. Right? And these are just some of the businesses that you can connect with as well if you want to. And then in terms of legal framework, companies are now legally required to pick up waste. So this year's 2025, every Coke has to pick up 50% of all the plastic that it's sold. 50% of sales of plastic. They're accounting for it. And if you don't follow, it could escalate to suspension of business permit. Right? And so expect that more materials that you come across will incorporate more recycled plastic because legally we're now required to pull it out, the big companies. No? Right? And then of course, this one's very simple, but when you're looking at the inside, if it's a house, easy. But if it's a school, if it's an office center, any public space, parang please design with water refilling in mind. It is the one afterthought also na sayang. Kasi with the water refilling station, you save people so much money, and you save so much plastic, right? And less hauling waste also. There's a lot of that. No? Now, some people say that we need to build more recycling. That's true, but there's too much waste already. So reducing is still the best option. No? Reduction, right? Now, for the last storyline, the mountain. No? So this is our Philippines, 1900. And 2016. In 1900, there was a big international conference in Paris. Do you guys know what it was called? Treaty of Versailles. Kind of like the Paris Climate Agreement. But in 1900, something happened. The United States bought the Philippines for 20 million US dollars. So when Donald Trump says, I'm gonna buy Iceland or Greenland, it's happened before. It could happen, diba? Because we were purchased. And the reason why we were purchased is seen here. I found the minutes of the meeting of the Congress explaining to the President why they're recommending to buy the Philippines. And it said, Mr. President, the Philippines has soil that is healthier than any farm in California. And the Philippines has lumber to last us generations. So there's a business plan. That's why we were purchased. Sure, we got liberated, we learned English, but there's also business for them, right? Unfortunately, we were logged out and it was not replaced for whatever reason. No? And so we're paying the price today. It is 10 degrees hotter without the trees. When you're waiting for your Grab, your not Lalamove, Angkas, tricycle, jeep, bus, whatever, I'm sure you wait in the shade. Diba? Tree shade decreases the temperature significantly. No? And UP Diliman is a good example of the top, and Katipunan Avenue is a good example of the bottom. Right? Actually, most of the country is this. Most of the urban country is this. No? Right? Singapore is almost completely this. They're so mindful of it. Right? And for extreme heat, we're paying the price in terms of more expensive food. So one of my businesses is ecotourism, and we do trips with farmers in highland areas. No? Now, I went to one farm, one group, and then I saw only half their farms had rice planted. So I asked the farmer, Kuya, bakit kalahati lang ng farm niyo yung may tanim? Anong nangyari? Kulang ba kayo ng seeds or pataba? Sabi niya, hindi sir, namigay ng seeds yung LGU, yung DA National namigay ng pataba kasi nga mahal yung pataba dahil sa Russia-Ukraine war, nag-times 3 lahat ng fertilizer. Pero sir, wala kaming tubig at wala nang magawa ang gobyerno kasi nasa bundok na kami. Nasa taas nga, walang tubig, paano tayong sa baba? And so their solution was everyone, only half their farms get watered. So did they go hungry? No. They had enough to eat. Pero wala na silang surplus. So sino yung talo? Yung nasa baba. Sorry, wala na kami benta, bili na kayo sa labas. And that's why we import rice from China. It's a water story, right? And part of that heat also drives wildfire. These two photos are photos of our team members fighting wildfire in Zambales, no? And come rainy season, the storms will look like this, right? And then of course, flooding, no? Has anyone here experienced flooding? Raise hands, anyone? Wala pa? If not, no, that's good. This flood was pretty intense. 50% of call centers had 50% absenteeism during storms. Work from home na yan, 50% pa rin yung absent. Can you imagine? Right? And what we're pushing for is that when you're trying to manage water and flood and temperature, this is your cheapest solution by far. No? That's how much water it holds. This is the breakdown of where it holds it, right? And you'll see, especially if you're designing in bigger spaces that are by the river, right, or farms, the trees will influence water flow, right? So this short video explains that, no? So here, there are two boxes, a box without plants and a box with plants. They're simulating a mountain without trees and a mountain with trees. Watch and tell me, what is the difference of water flow between the two boxes? Can you decipher what the difference is? Anyone? Yes?
The box on the left side produces
Polluted water, okay.
the other one is clean water.
Clean water, okay. Why?
Because of the trees, there's no trees on the box.
Because of the trees, okay. What else is different? So yung agos ng tubig malakas dito mabagal kasi may halaman na hahawak sa tubig. Diba? Tapos yung huli, nandito siya sa ilalim lumalabas. Dito sa taas lumalabas. Landslide, mudslide, flash flood, waterfalls, underground stream, deep well. That's the difference, right? And at the end of the day, it affects our food, right? So, I asked a rice farmer, magkano ba ang ginagastos mo kapag nagpapatubig ka sa farm mo? Ang sagot niya, 9 pesos per kilo. Most of our rice farms today spend extra on gasoline kasi they have a pump that's gas powered that will pull water from 300 feet under the ground to water the farm. That's why it gets expensive. No? That's one of the connections. And so we're showing these examples. Walang puno, walang tubig. May puno, may tubig. No? In that sense. Right? And again, when you're designing and you see this behind you on the window of your room or your house or the building, you'll know that this is a cool area. If this is behind you, ganyan lagi, that's really hot. This is Aurora Province. This is what the entire Zambales and Pampanga looks like. No? Iba yung level of heat. And that affects us inside, no? And so, this one, Zambales, where we're working with the ITAS, no? We want to reforest 4,000 hectares to support the restoration of the environment. No? So we launched a tour called Tribes and Treks, where part of the tour fee is to help the community restore their forest. No? So this is what happens on tour. So you get hiking, there's a grab carabao kung ayaw mo maglakad, archery, right? The elders teach you herbal medicine, headache, muscle ache, right? Stomach ache, walang heartache. And then there's food. Now, the community serves you nice food as well, no? And then dancing and planting, right? Now, after the first successful tour, si Chieftain, supposed to pay him money kasi kawawa sila. Grade 5 lang yung natapos niya, walang kuryente, walang running water. So, here, Chieftain, here's 3,000. No? Salamat. It takes a person 1 to 1.5 months to earn 3,000 in that area. At least back then. That was 2015. No? And then si Chieftain, instead of taking the cash, said, "Sir, wag mo na lang akong bayaran." Tapos ako, bakit ayaw mo babayad? Kasi nagdala kami ng bisita, daming trabaho, kabuhayan niya to. Ang sagot niya, "Sir, tignan mo yung lupaing ninuno namin. Napakalaki, pero walang laman. Pag binigyan mo ako ng pera, magagastos ko yan sa load, sa 3 naman na kape, o sa sigarilyo. Hindi naman yan papakinabangan ng matagal. So kung seryoso ka na tumulong, dalhan mo kami ng mga buto at binhi kasi yon itatanim at kahit may magnakaw ng binhi, itatanim pa rin yon at makikinabang ang kabataan sa barangay namin. No? And so that's what we did. No? And so here's the before and after of the reforestation site of Chieftain Erese. This is 2017. This one is 2021. Tapos, this is 2023. I don't have the updated 24 pala, sayang. And then that's the whole valley where they're planting, no? Oops. Internet issue. So anyway, we also tried to help them on livelihood, no? Because it can't just be a environmental play. They need to earn from the environment, right? Green economy, one of the pillars, right? And so we started with food. The money that Chieftain declined, we used to get ube seeds from the Good Shepherd sisters, yung masarap na ube jam. And yan, the community makes ube chips, sells the crop, no? And then we picked up seeds from different areas, and then we started planting them with a lot of volunteers, a lot of guests, no? And then things started to grow very quickly. This is a 2-year-old forest na, no? Then we started to measure things. The first thing I measured was temperature. We got 13 degrees Celsius difference. No? And then some trees have flowers. Flowers bring bees. And the bees brought honey, no? Which is still sold by the community today. No? So you're starting to see examples of an environmental economy, right? Other areas na may forest na sa likod, what we did, we went straight into the agriculture and permaculture forest side. So there's some vegetables, not monocropping. They've got papaya, calamansi, no? Then you want them to sell to the local area. No? And then we planted bamboo. And then 5 years later, they're already making bamboo paroles out of it. In fact, if you need to design structures, that's the same bamboo you can use to make structures, no, for your design projects. And then my favorite is cashew. We started picking up seeds of cashew because most of our cashews from China, India, and Vietnam. And the community started planting. And then now they're harvesting, selling, no? And we connected them to a factory to sell to as well pag sobra yung stock nila, no? So there's a lot happening on the agroforestry side, right? And this is the before and after, 2017 to 2024, no? We ended last year with 90,000 trees. This year we'll add another 20K, right? There's Chieftain planting more, no? But one of the challenges, one of the things we're looking at now is water, right? And this is another cooling scenario, no? I recently took a permaculture class on rainwater harvesting, and it's something that can really help, no? So just to give an example, in the Cordillera area, Ifugao, the top is forested, so may tubig sa baba. It's by law, you can't cut on top, no? So, you can start to create small reservoirs that capture the water, keep it there, and then send it back into the river, no, after. But these areas can cool spaces significantly, right? So this is one example, right? And this is basically what it looks like, no? Before, after, no? Here's the diagram behind it. And this water flow cools an area significantly, no? Oops, right? Where's that? And then just wanted to prepare this sample for you guys. The simulation of temperature over the day, no? You can see the time there. Now, as we plant, we face wildfire, and this is an interesting storyline because it has a construction story ending as well, no? So, in August, it would flood like crazy. August 1, 2023. Gutom siya, so bumili siya ng bigas para sa pamilya niya. Tumawid siya ng ilog, 8 to 10 feet deep, right? Then 6 months later, river, no more water, it's burning. Actual tour, so actual visit. Narinig mo yung apoy, di ba? This is Zambales, no? And we're just showing you where we're from, what happens, right? Very difficult, no? But it's happening in Baguio. I don't know if you saw the news, John Hay. It's at risk of wildfire. I just came from Baguio 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to the Parks Authority. They're scared of wildfire. Subic Bay, right outside the base, dami ng wildfire as well. Subic has to prepare also, even if it's still forested, no? And this is the enemy. The dry grass, or if you're in Baguio, it's dry pine cones and pine needles. Kasi it's as good as paper. Just throw a match, boom. And then with strong wind, tatalon na yan to different areas, right? And so what we found is an interesting solution. We can cook the biomass inside here. We set it ablaze inside versus you let it burn outside. And you get a material called biochar, which is solid carbon. Yes, carbon that is connected to what we talked about earlier. Because carbon has two states. It has a gaseous state, but it has a solid state as well, no? And when you burn these things at 500 degrees Celsius or higher in an enclosed area, you can prevent it from becoming gas. It becomes solid. In which case, it's carbon negative for the air. You can put it back in the ground, no? This is what it looks like. That's the kiln, right? And what that carbon does is it increases water retention of soil, right? See the difference? But the same amount of water is the same volume of soil biochar, no? Because it is highly absorbent, no? Now, the other thing that's interesting with it, 5 times its weight in water, is it also helps plants grow significantly. Look at this plant on the side. It's so small, but there's no biochar here. May compared to the plant in the middle, wala pa siyang kalahati, but there's biochar here. No? Solid carbon in the ground. That's where it's supposed to be, locked away. No? And if you burn something, this is what happens. You see the carbon going up as black smoke? That's carbon. But if you put it through a pyrolysis process, this is what you get. White, cleaner smoke. So it is carbon negative as evidenced by MIT's research, CNN Climate, Stanford. They're all saying the same thing, right? And it can be mixed in soil, right? And it can also be mixed in cement. And this is where it starts to get interesting for us, right? Because there are studies where cement companies, a concrete making company, are looking at what can I mix in my concrete mix so that I use less carbon. Because as we said, halos 1:1 yung cement to carbon. No? So there is research about it, Stanford and the Concrete Institute of Australia, that you can get similar strength using alternatives as well. No? And they've tested it on roads. And so it is possible to do it here. Right? Now, the nice thing about it is earlier, biochar absorbs. And so it absorbs a lot of moisture as well. So hindi kulob yung loob ng bahay. In fact, if you have a house that has mold, you put charcoal in the middle, charcoal absorbs all the mold. Right? So it can go down to 0.54, can almost cut it by half. Right? This is a study by Freycinet, the AAA contractor of NLEX and Acoustics. Right? This is their Portland cement standard mix. Portland cement is 85% of a carbon. They mixed it with SEM, so this is basically carbon waste from coal power plants. Look, the carbon went down significantly. They still got their 2,000, 3,000 PSI, but the curing time was longer, right? And then I guess the last one that I wanted you guys to be mindful of also is if your roof isn't a garden, perhaps it should be solar, right? Because this is what our power plants will look like. Lots of gas out. This one's a lot of oil, right? We recently went solar at home, and the nice thing about solar is that it insulates you from this. This is a scary situation, especially if you have parents that are senior citizens na magka-heart attack na or may diabetes or cancer. Kasi pag nainitan yan, they get stressed and then you never know what happens, no? So for us, we try to do solar, no? And it can save you up to 29%. So, bawi ka agad in 2 years. No battery, just straight up solar. No? If you want the battery for extra insurance, you can. Right? And there are many deals today that offer you solar for 0 down payment. No? So, it's an easy win, no? Because pwede mo nang utangin and you just pay through your savings. Right? Now, again, as you look at the construction industry and the products, no? The product, you don't just judge the product by its usage or construction. You also look at it at end of life and if it's recycled, right? There are more considerations today that we have to be aware of, right? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to get ourselves out of this climate change mess, right? And as you heard Bill Gates, we're going to keep building, diba? Double the cities by 2060. So there's a lot of business for all of you, but with that opportunity comes a lot of responsibility for you guys to look at also, right? And so this talk is for you guys to succeed because we need you to succeed in this particular category. If not, kawawa naman yung mga anak o apo natin, no? Because sila yung mainitan. They won't enjoy clean beaches and their summer might be an extra month long and their rainy season might be an extra month long as well, no? Just yesterday, I was planning for all our tours in our travel company. And what we did is, from July until November, nakatag as risky for travel. Kasi, minsan, July dumadating yung bagyo. At last year, November dumating lahat ng bagyo. Di ba? Ang haba na ng risky season ngayon. How can you plan? Right? And for a farmer, that's bad. No? That's July, August, September, October. It's 5 months. It's almost half the year. Right? Risky. Dati, 3 months lang yung problema. No? Oh, sorry. I don't have it here, no? Is it still here? Looking for it lang. Ito, sorry. The biochar pala can be mixed in paint. I forgot to add it, no? and then it reduces the rust of the roof. If there are any cracks, it will cover it, and then mas lalamig pa siya. Of course, you can enhance that cooling effect by changing the color of your roof as well. No? In Singapore, all the roofs are white because it reflects more, right? So I know you're supposed to be interiors, but the color of your roof affects the temperature inside, so that's your job as well. No? I just wish we could change the public school roofs from dark green to white because they're all dark green. Huh? Yeah, this one. This one is easy. You just have, we're already producing biochar. You just have to buy the biochar. They will give you the mix. Then you just mix it na on the paint you like na. Very simple, right? So yun, right? Sige guys. So, sorry, that's my notes slides to add. No. And just backstory, I have this kasi I'm on a road show to try to speak to every UAP chapter for architects, and I'm hoping to also speak to the chapters in interior design and in landscape architecture and engineering. Kasi nag-overlap yung scope minsan eh, right? And there are multiple influencers in every build. And so it's better that everyone's on board versus only one is green in mind and everyone else kukontrahin ka. No? So yun. So if you guys have suggestions where we can speak and share this information, please share. We'll keep adding more information as we go, and we'll give you the slides all the time. No? So yun, I'll just end with, these are my emails if you want to send anything. And then I hope you can follow us online. I have two Instagrams. One is madtravel_ph, that does the travel, sustainable travel reforestation. The other is AVD Green Builds, which pushes for low carbon construction. No? So yun guys, thank you. And I hope you learned something. Yun nga. Sana ma-follow. Para mapakita ko lang guys. Ay, wala. Never mind.
See, it's okay. Well, you're looking for it. Guys,
You have questions? Yes?
remember, this is your last chance to do your great in class participation. So, I'm sure you've heard a lot of interesting things that may have aroused your curiosity. Kahit questions lang asking deeper about certain concepts that he has presented, or principles, or even practices, or even if you're just curious about how we can help in the efforts of reforestation, cleanup, whatever that is. Let's try to maximize our time together with Sir Ra. So,
Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, please follow. And while you're thinking of questions, I'll just plug this out there. Next week, I'm attending Bamboo Bootcamp. So I'm also speaking there. Bamboo Bootcamp, basically, it's a startup company in the Philippines, 2 years old. They saw what's happening in Bali. It's all bamboo structures. As you may have seen, Green School. They want to bring that here, but they're mindful na mas malakas ang bagyo natin. No? So it's done in strategic areas, must be sort of protected. No? And now there's so much demand for bamboo, but no one's growing it. No? Which is why I'm headed over, because we can probably get a lot of the communities to grow. But that does present an opportunity, because we would really like to have a bamboo structure in Metro Manila, right? And maybe when we are able to crowdfund for it, baka you guys want to volunteer to help build it, dig up stuff as well, no? Would be a nice exercise. I'll update you on that for sure. So that would be a fun activity, no? Imagine UP Diliman has a bamboo structure that looks like Bali. Game changer. Or UPLB could have it. No? Or La Mesa Eco Park. There's a public space. But it would change the game definitely for us. No? Because we'd use a more sustainable material, and the visual is just so different. No? Interior and exterior. No? So yeah, back to questions, if any.
Habang nag-isip pa sila ng questions, ang dami kong reactions just in watching that. He has a different set of slides this time around. A lot of it has been presented last year, but I am still awestruck sa mga data na pinipresent niya. And I'm sure you feel the same way, no? When we're outside of the circle na nagpa-pursue ng mga ganitong efforts, we are so naive about the consequences of our decisions and our simple actions of not using reusable things, for example. And So this is also the lecture that was presented to Shane Rubio. Shane will be here in a while. I just texted her. Shane, like, felt so inspired by the talk that Suraki shared last year that parang nag-solidify agad yung concept in her mind. And that's the reason why she was able to join the IDA competition and emerge as the winner among, I think, more than 100, if I'm not mistaken, 180 entries. And she's the only one from UP who submitted an entry and she emerged as the winner. So imagine the impact that Sir Rafi is doing. And he's doing it in the right, he's getting the right opportunities to do it because as he has shown you earlier, ang laki ng impact ng construction industry. It has the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, one of the biggest impact. And I did not, like, I haven't absorbed that at first, but yung concrete and steel industries are the top contributors to the crisis. So imagine if we all put our heads together and contribute to solve this problem, then we will hopefully make an impact. Kahit 10 lang siya, but this is one batch and we'll do it again to another batch and hopefully I can communicate or negotiate with the other design industries or professions here in UP to like give him also a platform. So we are very privileged to have heard those things from Sir Rafi today, and I would like to hear from your reactions and questions, and just to interact with what has been presented. Okay, so the floor is now open. Mahihain lang sila, sir, pero sa una lang po yan.
Gusto niyo text niyo na lang? Yung sagot niya.
Let's see.
Sige lang.
Let's begin with the
Yeah.
top participants. Sige na.
Yeah.
Sige na, Julian.
Wait, I have a suggestion.
Sige. What's your
Can you
suggestion?
talk to the two people beside you and then
Okay.
think of a question? I give you 2 minutes.
Sige.
Ready? Go!
Okay.
Yan.
You know, kasi I'm leaving my full-time position
Oh, really?
by July. That's why I may not have a leverage.
No worries.
But I'll be back soon after I finish my
Oh, okay. So that's good. Oh.
Pero I know some.
If you know any teachers, or let's say then there's a new teacher, I'm trying to build the portfolio lang para when the teachers get me, they're like, "Uy, good speaker talaga."
Yes.
I need. Oo.
In fact, may interact naman recently on Instagram, and she's a landscape architect or graduate. I saw that she's going to present in a large conference.
Oh.
Maybe I can introduce her.
Yeah, please.
Let's see yung... What's it brand you presented last time? Acoustic.
Ah,
Literally,
Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Oo. Okay. Kasi tinanggal ko na kasi nag-rebrand yung Armstrong. Binili siya ng Kenoff. That's why there's some Kenoff there. They still let the Armstrong, but they wanted to change it. And then maganda lang, the Kenoff group is European Armstrong's American. So mas mindful sila on sustainability. Tsaka mas marami silang laws. Kasi si malaki yung carbon accounting law in Europe Sa America, it's Trump. It's not gonna happen. Yeah. So yun. Yeah. Pero yun, optimistic naman ako kasi very excited din yung mga different construction brands ngayon to try to do something. And kailangan, and if they do this, we can hold them accountable. Oh. Nagawa mo. Easy.
And he's wondering, saan ko ba yung energy to do all of this?
Well, masaya ang trabaho sa
What a meaningful way to utilize your life.
I hope it's enough. But we'll try. We need more people. Sige guys, any questions? Go ahead.
I'm just curious lang po, when you have like projects, how do you fund them?
How do we fund projects?
Where do
Okay.
you get your funds for?
Well, if you tell a good story, you usually get a lot of funds or support. Right? And then, ano lang, but when we started, parang, I remember the first person who donated sa amin, they just wanted to help the community. So they gave what? 100 pesos, 200 pesos, ganun lang. But if you hold yourself accountable and you see things grow, you do good work, it spreads, no? So here we are 10 years later, people are throwing bigger amounts of money to fund projects. So ngayon, confident ako kasi I know that when I succeed, the community succeeds with me. So does the environment. And hopefully, so does the population of students who can learn from it. No? So it's a lot of wins. So people are incentivized to give. Right? Sometimes it's donations, but we're also a business. So we also run educational tours talaga for schools. We're trying to build a architectural parang tour. So that is all architectural innovations in the Philippines as well, no? So that yun, people really pay us for it kasi I want to learn, take me on this tour, no? And then the products slowly also starting to grow, no? That's Mad Travel. The other business is AVD Green Builds. This one, we really do acoustics, walls, ceilings, and floors, right? So we also do that, but it's my grandfather's business. AVD is his name, no? And I've been able to convince our board to shift everything to low carbon, right? And that's what I'd like to do kasi those transitions have to start somewhere. So a few years ago, hirap na hirap ako to make it work. Now it's gaining steam, and very soon a lot of all the products, all the things I showed you, we want to be able to supply also, and we'd like it to be locally manufactured as much as possible, right? So I'm studying bamboo processing. I hope I can set up a processing facility with the ITAS and Dumagat for bamboo. I don't have to buy from wherever, diba? So yun, those are some of the things we're doing. So again, combination of donation and you're selling products and services. Yeah?
First of all, thank you so much for what you presented. But in connection to the funding or the financing of the fashion, when we talk about sustainability or like materials options, parang we often think na pag alternatives mas mahal siya, mas mahal yung material compared to the traditional ornaments.
Right.
And what can you suggest ways to hire para mas maging viable option? Kasi we wanted to sustainability, but when it comes to construction and
Practical, diba? So that's true. So there are two categories. Actually, I will probably write this down because it's a good question. There's one category where, there's no way for you to escape a higher price. But it will probably last longer and give you more value. Because there are products that are cheating their way through. And so, because they're cheating their way through, they're not paying the price. So, I'll give you an example. The plastic example. So all these companies are using plastic because plastic is cheaper than glass. It's cheaper material to buy. It's cheaper to transport because it's lighter. Right? So they just produce a lot and then tinatapon. So for the last 50 years, companies that sell plastic have never had to pay the price of cleaning the plastic. Who pays for it? People say it's the government that's supposed to do it, and tayo din, no? But not all industries are like that. In ceilings, acoustic ceilings, pag mineral fiber or gypsum, a good plant, sa dulo niyan, yung basura, kukunin niya at siya yung magdi-dispose properly. The bad one dumps it into the river. The bad one that dumps it into the river has no hauling cost, has no disposal cost, whatever. Then, ang mura niya, 30%, 50% cheaper. The one that does it properly, more expensive, no? But in over 15 years, what happened was the plants that didn't follow the law on you can't dump in the river. Anong nangyari? The whole town got so dirty na nagka-rally in China saying our city is unlivable. The mayor of Beijing came out like, we can't live in it, it's too dirty. So people paid the price. So that's one example. There's no escape. So the second example is where there is a way around it. but it's a combination of the material, and then each of you has to level up how you your knowledge on how to use and design certain things. No? So I'll use the biochar as an example. Because if you mix it with paint, it can increase the anti-rust property, it can deflect more heat, it can cover certain patches. No? I offered to you to just buy the powder, you mix it in your paint. If you want it ready-made, I saw in World Bex the ready-made option. They don't call it biochar, imported from Hong Kong. So it is 4 times more expensive than a bucket of paint. Whereas if it's biochar, you just buy 100 pesos per kilo biochar, mix in the paint, yun na. Right? So there are DIY opportunities for that, no? And that's what we're trying to unlock in that sense, no? Right? Now, in the cheaper category, sometimes the cost is reallocated, no? So you will have technologies na mas mahal yung labor, like that, mura yung material. Diba? And you will have technologies na reverse. Mas mahal yung material kasi magtitipid ka sa labor. Kasi na-pre-build siya. So the eco bricks are an example of the reverse. Mas mahal yung product per square meter. Pero mas mura yung labor per square meter. Kasi after you stack it, wala na, di ka na magbuhos. Versus hollow block, you stack it, buhos, wait for 28 to 72 hours depending on the rain, and then fix ulit. Right? So those are examples. I hope you can use those as a way to decipher in the situations you come across. Which is it? Diba? Is it there's no escape? Is it I can save but it's more on the labor, or I can save because it's more on the material? Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Siguro in general, so uncertain unang concept. Pero like in this line of work po, but like trying to be so kind of more ethical dilemmas or
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you want to be very simplistic about it, if you follow the money only, and you don't care about the environment, you're literally destroying the country. And so you'll have farmers who have less water, therefore less income, therefore they're in poverty. Or people might die of poison if you keep throwing your trash in the rivers or ocean, diba? That's ethical. That's someone's livelihood, that's someone's health, that's someone's life, right? So knowing that, we're also very careful in terms of complaining. Kasi sa Pilipinas may kultura ng pag mali, ireklamo. Gets ko yun, dapat marunong ka magreklamo, pero dapat marunong ka rin magbigay ng alternative. Right? And as you can see, everything we've assembled is we're trying to research different alternatives so that when we tell them, it's easier to shift and ready na kami with the shift. No? Diba? Kasi the only reason naman why nagkaka-strike, let's say, I read an article on the way here. Did you know that yung mga Grab bikes, yung mga sakay ng angkas, they're not illegal but they're not legal either, apparently. Kasi naka-pilot mode pa rin ang national government on the study of using motorcycles as a method of transport. If the government says, sorry, wala nang angkas, syempre mag-rally tao, diba? But if the government says, sorry, wala angkas, by the way, tomorrow, bukas lahat ng train station natin for 1 million people. Different. You get the reaction, but it's not as bad. Kasi, may alternative naman si sir. Diba? So, that's the thing. We have to be careful with that also. Kasi, we know we're talking to, it's construction, you're talking to very big companies, a lot of wealth, no? Many times a lot of political power as well. So, it's the science that will help us get through to it. No? And the combination of working with these communities. Kasi I really believe the solution out of it involves a lot of the farmers and indigenous people. Tingnan mo, they can now produce biochar. Imagine if they start supplying contractors with biochar to make cement roads. Kahit 2% lang ng volume yung biochar, laking kita nun ng community, diba? Yeah. And what are they doing? They're just preventing fire in different fields. Right? Yeah.
Ano naman po, like, I think I noticed that, because recently maraming fires around this area. Usually nangyayari po siya sa mga, like, yung mga marginalized
Yes.
settlements. And I guess also like some mga urban landscapes in general. A lot of it is mga mentioned, mga lero, yung roofs
Mm,
nila,
mm.
and then yung forms of insulation nila. Naturo din sa amin na they resort to yung mga foil
Yes.
roofing since it's
Uh-uh.
the more affordable option.
Yes, yes.
My question is po, paano magiging mas accessible sa kanila yung mga
Materials.
reusable materials?
Okay.
Tsaka like, kapag nagkaka-natural calamities, sila
Mm.
din po kasi yung nasasalitan.
Correct. So it's a complicated situation you've described, right? And so I'll tackle it with different angles. Number one that I wanted to tackle is this chart. No, even without the biochar, painting it changes the temperature. But do people know that? They don't, diba? I bet if people knew that, you go to the top floor in Makati and you look at the roofs around it, you'd see more white. I bet you would. No? Kasi once I found out, I touched it eh. Sayang nga, I don't have a sample. Next time, I'll have a sample for you. I touched it. Oh my God, ang init nito. Pwede na magluto ng itlog. No? So, that's one. Knowledge. But is paint expensive? Maybe. But I think you can save for it. If you can afford yero, you can probably afford paint over time. Diba? The second one is that within the industry of construction, it is notorious for underpaying people. No? Nung pasok ko sa construction industry, I saw like, oh, ito pala yung mga sweldo ng mga subcon. Grabe, ang baba. And so, because it's low, there's an incentive for them to steal, to do bad work, to call in sick kasi I found something better, right? It's important kasi parang one of the big challenges of our country is that hindi tama yung sweldo ng mga tao. Right? And I think all of us here are probably in a class where we'll have access to, or already have access to, a fairer wage. It's not the best, I would say, pero hindi rin siya yung kulang for daily sustenance, which is what many construction workers face. So for example, alala ko dati nung una kong pasok sa company, we still had the Cebu office noon, but it's closed na. Tanong ng isang guy, "Sir, tatanong ko lang, nagbabayad ba kayo ng minimum dito?" Sako, nasya ako. Oo, bakit? Sabi niya, ba't mo tinatanong? Sabi, kasi sir, marami dito hindi. Right? But of course, as a business owner, or as a contractor, or all of you will manage projects one day, you have to suck it up also. No? And so it's on you then to be able to sell better. So you add more values, you can charge a little more. No? Or to find technologies to save on cost. So that's another angle to it, right? Kasi they're marginalized because there's a system that marginalizes them, right? Now, in terms of materials naman, for climate change, the eco-brick presented an interesting opportunity, right? Because Habitat for Humanity, if you're familiar, they started focusing on teaching people how to build with eco-bricks because it was per square meter roughly the same, but the build versus hollow block, but the build was 5 times stronger. 5x. So less likely for the wall to fall, right, in that way. So, those are some avenues. But as you know, sa Pilipinas, education travels slowly, di ba? Super slow. Where's the eco-brick? Well. So, that's why forums like this are important, or the way to educate. Diba? How do you educate someone who finished only grade 5? They can't sit through this whole lecture. It's too long. Diba? You'd have to change the way we do it. So I guess those are 3 examples lang. They can all kind of address the situation to a degree. And I'm sure there are more. No? But, out of our scope. Yeah?
So, we're privileged from the benefits ng sustainable alternative construction materials. But, knowing po na our profession, apparently we want to have is regulated and some specifications must be carefully considered for example, some innovations such as yung mga sustainable materials, kailangan ng additional certification or performance standards or meeting building codes. But given the country's limitation ng R&D and super bagal po ng parang pag-develop natin ng products such as toothpaste, how can we help po as future designers or entrepreneurs even to build the market demand for these products?
Well, you know how Samsung got big in Korea? When Samsung started, they had bad cars, bad phones, bad technology, but Koreans believed in it, so they bought it, even if it was a little inferior to American or Japanese tech. Today, though, in Korea, the joke is Samsung is everything because they're so good at many things now. So, for us, for me, the only way to grow it is to incubate it. Diba? There's always someone in society that is willing to do something new. That's the early adopter. After your early adopters, you have the next wave. The early adopter, mga 5% lang. The next wave is about 15% of the population. No? And you have to incentivize the early adopter. Maybe not with price, but you could publicize it. I mean, ano ba naman yung cost na i-TikTok mo, i-Instagram mo, i-Facebook mo? It's very simple. You publicize good news. Diba? We can all do that. Diba? Or you can say, bilhin mo na lang to kasi it saves you here naman. No? Using your knowledge also. So those are the things you can do. Gets ko naman that some of these products will not be certified. And I showed you a range. The gypsum and acoustic ceilings are certified because that's a international brand. But the bamboo is new, so it's not yet certified here. Right? It is, however, used widely in Bali and in South America. So if your environmental conditions meet the same situation, then you have a precedent for success, right? So yun, you just have to look because there's more than one way to gain credibility. One is a standard, check, pinirmahan ni ganito. The other is a real life example elsewhere. So you have to choose how you select the credibility standards for it. Yeah?
Nabanggit niyo po kanina na parang important nga po mag-educate ng people when it comes to sustainability. Pero at the same time, parang mahirap naman na po-point sila sa 5-hour lecture. Tapos in our profession po kasi, parang ayun nga, very clients every time. So, we cater most for them. So, may magbibigay po ba kayong advice to better educate yung clients about sustainability in a way na, ano lang, medyo concise. And at the same time, parang ma-persuade po sila into investing more in sustainability given na iba yung mga practices when it comes to this wonderful.
Right. Sige. So, ganito yan. So, I think you'll have two kinds of clients. There's the client that believes everything you say. That's a rare client. And there's the client who hires you because you can get the job done, but does not believe in your parang in your knowledge as much as you'd like to. No? So I have clients like that too. I have clients na kahit anong sabihin ko, they're like, ikaw na bahala magsabi ng anong gagawin natin. Then I write, blank check, binibigay na sa akin, I write it. And I'm happy na I can test new things, and do new things, and I make sure it does well. So alagaan yung ganon yung una. Pangalawa, yung client na hindi nakikinig, ang unang tanong ko, kanino ba siya nakikinig? Everyone listens to someone. No? You just have to find that someone. Is that someone a big brand? Is that someone another lecturer? Is that someone their sister? No? So you're looking for the point at which you can enter information. And sometimes it's not most of the time it's not a lecture. Baka nga dapat Instagram post lang or baka sometimes what I do kasi we teach kids sometimes as young as grade 2. We try to teach them on sustainability. And what we do, I might, like this slide, I will print this slide and then I'll leave it on the table. And then and then when the kid sees it, it's colorful, nagtatanong sila. So you can also do it bite-sized. It doesn't have to be all in one go. Kasi client naman, you see them multiple times, diba? Ayun. So you can send an email first, you can post, tag them, ganun. Then many strategies. Basta wag mong isabay-sabay. Para naman hindi din siya bombarded. Kasi marami din yung iniisip. Yeah?
Sorry, another question po. I read online that aside from construction, the fashion industry and like the clothing industry plays a huge role
Yes.
also in terms
Super.
of climate change. And since yung department of honest and check with clothing tech students, and nami-mention din sa amin that there's always opportunities for collaboration between interior design and clothing tech. Ano po yung, are there also alternatives that we can apply?
Sa clothing?
Or sa textiles,
Ah.
corporate
You know, one of the things that I always thought where textiles could work with construction is uh, here's a case study. There's a restaurant here in Maginhawa, Provinciano. Sa likod, may open area, tapos may pader sila sa likod. Tapos it's a wall full of indigenous weaves. The weaves are wrapped around I don't know what it's wrapped around. I don't know if it's foam or gypsum or mineral fiber. But it does several things. One, it's so beautiful. And that's all local weave. Most of it will be abaca. No? Next is it reduces echo. And third, that's very noise and heat insulating in that sense. No? But it's also very beautiful. And all it took was for someone to wrap the physical cloth around the square or rectangular construction material, right? So that's one thought na parang there's a clear crossover. But delving deeper into your question, yung textile industry natin it's in a very weak state, very similar to our construction industry because we don't produce our own cotton. We lost our ability to produce a lot of cotton when we started importing from abroad. Why? Because it was cheaper. But today, we're at the mercy of other countries because we don't produce our own cotton. So we need to find a way to revive it. And reviving it will naturally fall on the shoulders of those who can afford more. Kasi that at the start, hindi pa siya scalable. Marami, no? So if you can include the designer piece here and there of like weaves, why not, no? It would be interesting to be able to grow our own cotton fields ulit and things, but it needs to be studied kasi sensitive din yung cotton sa climate, no? And so what's happening now is there's a lot of polyester, which is plastic. My shirt's polyester. No? So parang the clothing's not bad, right? But I would also but you have to understand the material, and then you also have to look at the frequency with which we buy the material. Those are the things that we're looking at, and I think most of the stories will revolve around fast fashion, right? I mean, if your jeans are the same pair you had 10 years ago, can anyone call you bad? Pagalitan ka pa nga na hindi ka bumili ng bago, di ba? Ayun, that's it, no? So yan, if you buy for quality talaga. It's a very simple rule, but hindi na natin naiisip kasi someone's always selling something to us, di ba? Oo.
May teacher tayo sa clothing tech. If you saw teacher Kim who helped me set up my before, she's always wearing black, diba? And that's her way to like counter the problem. She's
Yeah.
always wearing black para kahit anong mix and match
Yeah.
niya with a few pieces of clothing, hindi makakalata na
Yeah.
it's old.
Yep. Sa akin, ito yung uniform ko. It's gray, black, or blue. Oh. So, yun. You had a question? Yeah? Go ahead.
Sir, I find you're simply on biochar. So my question is, what are the structural limitations or challenges of using biochar in persons?
So, there was a slide on that. No? Based on the feedback of the GM of Freycinet, what he said was the curing time is longer, almost twice as long. So, piniprefab niya yan. This one, 2x yung time to dry. Right? And then, it was slightly weaker. He didn't go into detail how long, but I need to practice nga. I'm looking for places. This is what we're also raising funds for. Para I can practice, gagawa ako ng walk. Isa pure cement, is standard, isa with biochar. Let's see what breaks first. Right? Kasi we need to experiment. It's the only way to do it. And I want to experiment on a tourism walk para madaling makita. No? But safe to say, ito na lang. If you're building a highway, mag-isip-isip ka talaga. But if you're building a sidewalk or yung garden nyo, yung planter box, tinatapakan ba yun lagi? Hindi naman, di ba? So there are places in a structure where it's very easy to include part of it already without much testing because hindi mo naman kailangan ng 1,000 PSI for it. Diba? Yun. And hollow blocks are only 170 psi. Just so you know, Manny Pacquiao's punch is 700. So Pacquiao can punch through hollow blocks. Yeah, sorry, there's another question there.
Good afternoon po. We've been talking about sustainability po in the past hour. So my question would be, how would how do we define sustainability po? Like in the context of interior design, like in materials. For instance, we have a bamboo. We know for a fact that the bamboo is sustainable because it's an indigenous material, it stores locally, but it's prone to damage and warming. And then there's an engineered wood which is mas matagal po siya, mas mahaba po yung lifespan niya. And in that sense, sustainable din po siya. But we know also for a fact that it uses like mas maraming energy po to produce. Siguro same analogy din po siya with plastic straw and metal straw.
Yes,
I
yes.
think there's a debate po in the past few years na parang we should stop using plastic straw. We should lumipat sa paggamit ng metal straw. But a metal straw po requires energy din to produce which is not sustainable. So siguro in simpler words po, how do we like explain sustainability to a 5-year-old kid?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, no? So, you notice in the slides, there's story, then there's math somewhere there. So, if you want to define it to a 5-year-old or to an adult, I think you will need numbers for sure. That's one. Because if this I don't know the stats, but if a plastic straw takes 1 unit of energy to make, for lack of a better word, and the metal straw takes 100 units of energy, how many times must you use the metal to break even? It's 100, right? The same goes for bamboo, right? Now, and with lumber, right? Now, there are technologies that are coming out. There's now engineered bamboo that is wood construction grade. And there's a factory already in the Philippines. Once I have more info, I'll share it with you guys. Where that one's stronger, and it's got accreditation in the States. Not here, ironically. No? Pero kung pasa naman sa US, normally papasa dito, di ba?
Sometimes if it's made in China, the binders are toxic.
Ayon. Toxic binders and yan, no? So, we really have to scrutinize, di ba? Kasi you have to pick the right companies to support. Unfortunately, that's our situation, di ba? It needs our active policing in that sense. And then in terms of sustainability, I'm sure you can Google a very simple definition. There are many ways to look at it, no? Diba? And there are many numbers you can use to express it. But parang for me, it's expressed simply as making tomorrow better, diba? The space better, no? And looking at it not in 1 unit of time, but across a longer period of time. Because the metal to plastic straw analogy, the story you gave, only wins for plastic if you use it as 1 unit of time. But if you use that over 300 days, and then it's a new plastic straw every day, adi iba na yung story, right? So mapping out context is also very important. Because the word sustainability reflects a system, a very complex system, right? And it's so complex that they have 17 goals, which nobody memorizes. Memorize niyo ba? I don't memorize it. Diba? But that's why I opened the story. I opened the story with this. Because this guy, who probably didn't study university, captures in essence what it's about. Diba? Yeah?
Sir, just for the background lang, since I've noticed na maraming, sa Tondo area po kasi parang maraming mga informal settlers
Dami.
na nakatira beside a river. So parang for that po, marami pong kalat sa mga river to the point na yung naging solution po ng government as far as I remember is that bigyan sila ng mga pabahay, but yung mga pabahay po na yun is
province area, nasa Bulacan, Cavite. And during mga 2017 po kasi, parang yung Bulacan po kasi parang more on palayan siya, talagang mga puno talaga.
Yes, yes.
And as year goes by po kasi parang ang naging solution po is parang tanggalin yung mga puno just to build a construction for that.
Mm.
So ang question ko po is that do you have any suggestion po ba on how to preserve yung biodiversity while also meeting yung resource demand ng growing population ng Pilipinas?
Yes. That contractor has to take this class. It's my first suggestion, right? And then whoever's asking them to build the house, government or private, should also know. Kasi you don't know what you don't know. Masisisi mo ba pag di nila ginawa? Hindi, di nila alam eh. Did they study this when they were in college? No. Did you study this when you were in college? But who's in power now? The people who did not study this. Right? So, but ano rin naman, to be realistic, for every 100 people we, let's say, share this with, optimistic the half will change. But maybe you get the 10% that can create a lot of impact. And then you just have to publicize it. Kasi pag naging uso naman yan, gagaya-gaya yung tao, di ba? In that sense, no? That's important. Right? And ano rin, parang that story that you shared, it's very real, is a reflective of human decisions that don't look at the whole system. Right? Now, looking back, we have better access to info. We have the benefit of understanding the system better. There's AI pa. Please explain to me the system of sustainability in, let's say, a riverside community. Oh, papaliwanag niya. There's no reason not to anymore. Right? So, we have to be the ones to carry that. No? And it's expensive because we have to change the mistakes of the past. Pero now we can model it. Dati hindi. Diba? I think that's the scenario. Of course, some people are still stuck in the past. We need to push them forward.
I'm doing a case study now of the heat index of buildings close or surrounded by vegetation and buildings that are like highly urban areas situated in areas that's not surrounded by trees. So I'll do it in Alonso Hall, may courtyard tayo dun with some vegetation and
Yeah.
museum building, parang it's completely enclosed. And yun, mga in the academia, the research that we do, we're hoping that they can be turned into policies
Yeah.
for lawmakers.
Yeah. Diba? If that's the case, then the question becomes, if it's magandang study result, the question is, what tree can you plant that doesn't destroy the cement? That's the next question. And there are trees that do that well, and there are trees that will destroy cement also. Yeah.
And why we should not remove trees right away when structures.
Yep. Yep.
I think I see a few more hands. Wait.
Medyo same mo yung Eliza. Since sa bansa nga po natin, medyo mas marami yung percentage ng mga tao na nasa mahirap na kalagayan. At hindi naman po nila afford yung mga construction na ganyan. And if like, may mga chances na hindi naman po sila pinapakialaman din ng gobyerno at yung informal sector sa mga ibang lugar, hindi sila napapakialaman ng gobyerno since wala silang pakit. And ang concern ko lang po is paano po sila ma-reach and parang malalaman nila na may mga ganitong mga construction na dapat para iwasan din yung mga factors na mas madali ng mga disasters like fire and items dahil sa mga construction materials na ginagamit nila. And is there a chance po na makapag-transition pa ba sila sa mga ganitong sustainable construction kung medyo mahal nga po at hindi nila afford? Like, yung ganong concern na po para sa mga tulad ng mga kalagayan.
So, yung biochar, sobrang simple. Pwede nilang gawin lahat. In fact, we run workshops to teach people to do it. Because all you need is kailangan mo lang ng kaldero, dry grass, and matches. That's it. That's all you need. Basta dapat may takip. So, I think there are technologies that need to be shared na lahat makakagawa. Kahit mahirap, kahit wala kang kuryente, magagawa mo. No? But we need, on my end, I need to find a way to make sure that I'm sustainable so I can keep doing it. Kasi kung bigyan lang ng bigay, maubos din ako, di ba? So there's that. We're trying to balance that. No? So that's one thing. And so business in general has to be kinder and more holistic in mindset. No? One of the things I really hope changes is the contractualization issue. Kasi a lot of these guys are contractual. Right? It's so bad. No? And the other one is, yung very simple din, buying local is so important. So important talaga. The community we work with, they're called Sitio Yangil, yung kwento ni Chieftain. So, 10 years ago when we started, they would earn, 3,000 per tour. Today, they can earn 30,000 per tour. Laki, diba? Pero dinagdagan nila ng, we didn't just give more 30. We also said, make the bamboo straw, make the bamboo star, galing ang motor guiding mo, yung food, damihan natin, magbenta ka ng calamansi juice, huwag ka gumamit ng sugar, use honey locally, huwag ka nalang benta ng coke, gumawa ka ng tsaa, gawa sa ganito. So you're thinking of ways around it. No? Very entrepreneurial yung solution, right? So I guess that's important. No? But we need to help them, right? Ako, hindi ko naman sila kilala, diba? Pero I'm talking to them. Now they're friends. They'll text me. They'll call me. We can do the same in communities here, and there are safe spaces here. You can do that. You can go to a GK village, Habitat village, ask. You can volunteer. No, but the last tenet of sustainability is a relationship. And I have one story. It was a Aita elder in Subic. No, so pumunta ako sa kanya, sabi ko, ate, tutulungan ko po kayo para kumita kayo ng pera. I was assuming na mahirap yung Aita. I never known her. I just met her. That's what I said. Sabi niya, tingin siya sa akin. Iho, makikinabang ka ba dito? Ako, diretso si mama. Sabi ko, opo, pero gusto ko makatulong sa inyo. Sabi, hindi, tinatanong ko lang. Kasi kapag ikaw lang nakinabang at ako hindi, papaalisin kita. Pag ako nakinabang, ikaw hindi, aalis ka. Ang gusto ko, ikaw at ako makinabang para tatagal yung pagsasama. That's the last tenet of sustainability, which is number 17. Partnership for the goals, no? But in essence, to simplify it, what that means is, katrabaho mo lang ang pinagkakatiwalaan mo. You never work with people you don't trust. That's normal, di ba? That's why if you had group work, you'd probably go with a friend or someone who's won an award publicly, because your friend is your friend, and the one who won an award publicly, magaling to. So there's more trust, di ba? And that's the same way. You can't solve their sustainability of tondo pag di mo sila kilala. Because people, especially Filipinos, only listen to people who care for them. Diba? Why do you think we have a culture where, why do you think, parang the politicians who win are the ones who always speak the language of the poor? Because the language is avenue to make you feel like you're cared for. Diba? In the same way, diba? Bakit minsan sa isang organization, kahit mag-pitch ka sa, nakita ko na tayo, nag-pitch ka sa president, sa vice president, sa CFO, wala. Pero kinausap mo yung asawa ng presidente, nakinig ka agad. Kasi it's a person who cares. So you feel like no one's trying to get you. So for that, it's a hard answer. Parang the answer is someone has to go talk to them. Hindi naman pwedeng Facebook lang. Diba? Or TikTok. But there are organizations who are, and since you brought that up, if you want to connect with those communities, I've been to Tondo several times myself. I know 2 or 3 organizations who work there, who you can introduce you guys, as you can visit, volunteer, see what's happening. They need help, for sure. Yeah.
Question lang po. So, may nabasa kasi ako na parang sustainability is a privilege. So, gusto ko malaman yung thoughts mo. Kasi parang nasabi din naman natin na expensive siya, so obviously privilege. Need ng education, which is sa society natin parang naging privilege na education, so privilege din siya. So, in that sense, if privilege na ang sustainability, parang another question is, like, sino yung parang dapat i-enforce natin yung sustainability to? Parang guess ba, parang sino yung morally obligated dapat na sumunod sa sustainability? Kasi Kasi based sa question ng iba, parang parang na paano yung informal sectors? Paano sila
Correct.
Parang, dapat ba yung may hirap yung mag-adapt sa sustainability? Like, sino ba dapat yung i-enforce natin yung concept na yun? Like,
Correct.
sino yung
Good question. Have you watched Spider-Man? What did Uncle Ben say to Peter Parker before he died? So that's the first. But I still believe everyone has to do sustainability. But more so yung taong may pera. Kasi sila din yung may bawa. Sige, mag-helicopter na lang ako papunta dito. How much gas is that, no? And I see influencers going to Tagaytay from Metro Manila on helicopter, ayaw na mag-traffic. Is that really the way to go? I feel conflicted about it. I don't like it, so I don't support them. Right? So that's one example. And that's extreme. Another example, katutubo, mahirap ba siya? By all standards in the city, yes. Nakapag-aral ba siya? No. Ba grade 5 lang si Chieftain. Naintindihan ba niya yung sustainability? Yes. Kasi hiningi niya seeds eh. So we cannot underestimate the poor. Because sustainability is not a concept for the rich. It is a concept that was common in the past. Alam yan ng lahat ng tao. Na pag mag-harvest ka, kunin mo lang kailangan mo. Wala naman kasi ref nun eh. Pero iiwanan mo rin para sa susunod na darating. Pay it forward. Ganun yung kultura. Diba? Why is it that the Ifugao rice terraces still have water today? Kasi inayos nila. That's old technology. If you've been to those terraces, hindi ko maintindihan kung paano nila na-engineer yung terrace na yun, na ginawa nila walang makina. That they harvested water. They made sure na forever yung tubig nila. Of course, now it's crumbling, but kasi wala yung tao. But if you had enough people, that will get maintained. There's no electricity there. So I would say, sustainability is not for the rich. Sustainability is a body of knowledge that was overrun or overturned by what we know as modern education. And now modern education is turning into it again. Except in the Philippines, ang mga marunong dyan, kasi it's an English word, are people who speak English. Therefore, yung may pera. Pero pag kinausap mo yung mga datu, mga chieftain ng Katutubo, mga rapu ng Dumagat, alam nila yan lahat. They just don't use the word sustainability. But they have principles on how to do it. Like, my last example is honey harvesting. There is a tribal law na honey harvesting starts in the summer and ends rainy season. Why? Kasi if you harvest in rainy season, papatayin mo yung buong colony of bees. That's tribal law. Diba? So yun. That's my answer.
Alright, I'm afraid we have to end there for this part of the lecture.
Thank you, guys.
So Rafi will stay behind because there's still the last part that he would definitely not want to miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I want to watch.
But before that, let me just call on Gisai to present the
Sure.
last token to Sir Rafi.
So that's you again, sir, and thank you for that very wonderful presentation that you have imparted to us. So we gained pretty much a lot from this presentation, and in behalf of Mambo Yahweh and the class, this is our token
Thank
of
you.
appreciation for you.
Sige, salamat, guys. Oh.
That's honey and calamansi.
Oh.
Since you're-
Paborito ko to. Sakto.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Sige, thank you. Sige. Thanks, guys.